And we start from industrialization. Africa must industrialize. That was the unmistakable message from the Africa Trade Summit, where former President John Dramani Mahama and business statesman Jonah delivered a stinging indictment of the continent's continued dependence on raw material exports. President Mahama insisted that industrialization must be driven by deliberate state action, deeper regional trade, and aggressive value addition. Echoing that urgency was Jonah, challenging African leaders to break the cycle of exporting raw resources while importing finished goods, warning that without bold investment in manufacturing skills and infrastructure, Africa will remain exposed in an increasingly competitive global economy. We'll hear from both gentlemen shortly, but first, Executive Director of the Africa Trade Chamber, Benedicta Lassie, breaks down the hard numbers behind Africa's import bill.
Intra-African trade remains below 15%, whilst other regions trade largely within themselves. Last year, Africa spent over $80 billion importing food, much of it derived from crops grown on African soil. These outcomes are not accidents, ladies and gentlemen. They reflect how production is being organized and capital is being deployed, and how policy has been aligned or misaligned with industry. The African Trade Chamber was created because three questions could no longer be ignored. First, why do African economies generate enough growth without generating enough industrial jobs, competitive businesses, and resilient exports? And what precisely is broken in the way industrialization is organized?
Well, that startling revelation led to Ghanaian statesman and businessman Jonah charging Africa to abandon economic difference and aggressively pursue its own interests. He explained that this move is key if the continent is to survive a rapidly collapsing global order.
Industrialization is not a luxury. It is our shield. Indeed, it is our sword. It forges resilience where value is captured locally, skills are honed, technology is mastered, and prosperity withstands commodity cycles and external shocks. Without it, ladies and gentlemen, we remain suppliers to the world, feeding the beast that grow stronger whilst we grow weaker. Prime Minister Kane's words cut to the bone. The world is in rapture. It is not in transition. Institutions like the WTO and the UN are crumbling as great powers exploit vulnerabilities. For Africa, this means our raw materials fuel electric cars in distant factories, our cocoa sweetens chocolates branded abroad, our oil powers engines we don't build. We capture crumbs while others feast on the value. Global politics, ladies and gentlemen, amplifies this injustice. Tariffs from superpowers trap us in low value chains. Conflicts disrupt our supplies, and coercion from afar dictates our terms. But herein lies the opportunity. Kane challenges us with middle powers must unite, build coalitions, and assert control. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa, with its 1.4 billion people, with its vast resources and youthful dynamism, is no weakling. We are the emerging force that can redefine the table, or we will risk being served upon it. This is the moment for Africa to be selfish, unapologetically so, boldly selfish in pursuing our interests. No more deference to distant agendas. No more exporting raw material potential while importing finished dependency. Selfish means prioritizing. Africa first, beneficiating our minerals on African soil, processing our agriculture into global grants, manufacturing pharmaceuticals that secure our health sovereignty. Selfish means demanding fair terms in every deal, rejecting exploitation disguised as aid, and leveraging our collective weight to negotiate from strength. Carney urged middle powers to stop pretending about the other's flaws, to name realities and act. Africa, let us name it. The old world profited from our fragmentation. The new world demands our unity. Let's be selfish, yes, but in a way that uplifts all Africans, creating jobs that dignify, wealth that recirculates, and futures that inspire. To achieve this, ladies and gentlemen, we must turn inward, fiercely inward-looking, harnessing our own strength rather than chasing external validation. AfTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, is not just a treaty. It is our lifeline, our fortress in this ruptured world. Yet, for far too many years, it has lingered as aspiration, not action. We must wake up. We must implement AfTA with ruthless urgency, harmonize standards across borders, streamline customs that bleed time and money, build infrastructure that connects our markets, and enforce rules that protect African producers. Imagine, just imagine, a truck laden with Nigerian textiles rolling seamlessly to Kenyan factories. Ghanaian cocoa transformed into Ethiopian chocolates, exported continent-wide. South Africa tech innovating for North Africa energy grids. This inward focus isn't isolation, ladies and gentlemen, it is empowerment. As Carney described Canada's path, let's cut barriers, diversify, invest in homegrown strength. For Africa, AfTA is the path, creating a market of scale that attracts investment, reduces dependencies, and positions us as shapers, not suppliers. Delay no longer. The new world waits for no one.
Well, we can now hear from President Mahama, who is backing calls for the nation to industrialize, especially in agriculture.
Africa produces most of the world's cocoa, yet captures only a small fraction of the value of the global chocolate market. Similar imbalances exist in oil refining, textiles, and mineral processing. Beneficiation alters this equation by creating domestic industries, reducing imports, and increasing export earnings. Across the continent, encouraging progress is underway. In Ghana, we're deliberately shifting from a commodity export model to a value-added economy, prioritizing agro-processing, manufacturing, and industrial clusters that are aligned with our natural advantages. As part of our reset agenda for economic transformation, we're looking to add value to our exports, such as cocoa, cashews, oil palm, cassava, petroleum, gold, manganese, bauxite, etc. And on the issue of resource sovereignty, we must break the colonial mode of large foreign-owned concessions, extracting value for the benefit of foreign interests and entities while Africa remains in poverty. And as Jonah said, we must be boldly selfish and claim a fairer share of our natural resource endowment.
Well, joining me in this conversation is CEO of AGI, Seth Chumakwabwa. We're grateful for your time. I believe you've also been listening into this conversation ongoing at the Africa Trade Summit. Well, Sesam Jonah says Africa must stop, exporting raw materials and be selfish in putting value to our resources. From your perspective, what exactly is stopping Ghana from doing so on a large scale?
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me. I think that, first of all, it's a good call by the tutors. And I recall last week when we had our investiture dinner, the past president of AGI, Dr. Singeti, made a similar call that considering the shift in the global space, considering what President Trump is doing, trying to protect its own market, encouraging industries to be set up, to move to America, and so on and so forth. every country seems to be in that space of trying to protect their industry a little bit. Now, so the call by Sir Jonah and His Excellency the President that we should look inward also, look at agriculture, look at industry, and make sure that we support local industry to grow. I think it's a very good call, and it resonates very well with the situation of Ghana industry. Because as you know, we are promoters of industry,
Right.
and therefore we think that we should welcome such discussion. Now, the question you asking, what is preventing us? I think there are so many factors that, but I wouldn't talk so much about the negative, but we should talk more about what we can do to promote it. I think policies should drive it. There's a lot we can do to improve policies to support local industry. They are now coming from various parts of the world to enter our market and entering the market through maneuvering the system and they're declaring the volumes they are bringing, and they're declaring the values and paying very little duties, making them more competitive than locally produced ones. Then you're putting your market in the hands of people. So we need to tackle the policy aspect. And it's not just the policies we develop, it is also the strategies we use in enforcing some of the regulations we have. So if you're able to police our market very well and prevent influx of goods that are not coming through the right route, then we are going to help improve the market for Ghanaian industry. The other aspect of it is that we need to also develop the capacity of local industry. Because if we create a market opportunity for them, and they don't have capacity to supply, and then to export to other African countries, then we have a challenge. When we talk of continental free trade, I think over 95% of the trade is in goods. Service constitutes a small part of it. Significant part of it is in goods. And the goods means that you're actually trading in physical commodities. Those commodities must be produced.
Well, on that scale, so what does government need to do differently? What deliberate action should go into ensuring that is achieved? Even factories surviving, yes.
Yes, so first of all, we need to identify products that we have comparative and competitive advantage because we cannot be master of all products. So the few products that we have local capacity to produce, let's make sure that we support companies producing it and deepen the level of value addition. Some of these products are being produced, however, we import the bulk of the raw material. So the level of value addition is small. And if the level of value addition is small, your real value you get in terms of job creation, additional tax, additional income, additional revenue is not that high. So if you're talking of agricultural products, developing the value chains for agriculture to reduce the cost of the input is very important. And that is something government can do. And I know government program for agriculture speaks very well today. It's a question of how well we implement it. I know that the 24-hour economy project also has plans on these. And I believe that if they're able to implement the plans very well, because in this 24-hour economic project, they are selecting specific products in the value chain that they think we can develop. So I think the ideas are brilliant. Let's see how well we work on it. And for products that we are already producing, and we think that we have local capacity, we prevent such the import of similar products from unfairly competing with market. I mean, if you take products like cables, we have cable companies in Ghana that are producing high quality over in the world. Because that is undermining local production. If you take even palm oil, the volume that we are producing, palm oil processes, they don't even get enough of the crude. Indeed, some of the big companies are importing so much volume. So what do we do to ensure that the ones that we are producing here, we have adequate market for it and we prevent unfair competition? Right. We have it in several other areas like the sanitary part, even the rubber products, foam products. We are allowing import of second-hand home mattresses when it's completely against the law. Go to the market today, a lot of products we are selling in this area, it's all second import. You know what? Second import to come into the market, but you're unable to enforce it. So local producers have been as competent in the market, and they are struggling. So we don't need to change so many things. Even the policies we've developed already, the laws we have, if we're able to enforce it, that alone will make a big game changer for the industrial sector.
And you talk about markets. Also key is regional trade. Is the Ghanaian industry really benefiting from AFTA?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the potential is there. Some manufacturers in Ghana are exporting to some of the countries, but the volumes they are doing, I don't think it's big enough. And like I said, if you are trading the AFTA arrangement, the bulk of your trade is in goods. If you are not producing export, you are producing to a very competitive pricing level, then you still cannot export. So the potential is there. And I know under the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has over the years tried to promote some of these, establish an export trade house in Kenya and then make Ghanaian products. But how are we able to do it? So I think we have a long way to go. In West Africa, Ghana happens to be one of the main manufacturing countries, so we have a lot of potential. By entering even other...
Hello, Mr. Kwawa, can you reposition yourself? Yeah. I'm losing you.
Oh, I'm literally sitting at something. Okay. So is it better now?
It's better now. It's better now.
Okay.
So,
yes, so I was starting the example of pharmaceutical products, that Ghanaian pharmaceutical products are able to enter some of these markets.
Right. And with high power, finance and transport costs, do you think Ghana can industrialize under these current conditions, or is the system working against manufacturers?
I think there's a lot when it comes to improving our environment to ensure low-cost production. And low-cost production comes from improving some of these factors you mentioned. Must be low and very competitive, must be reliable. You need the volumes and you need the quality of power to attract the right kind of industry. I mean, the steel industry, the power comes to about 30% of their cost of production. So if you don't have a very strong power sector that gives competitive tariffs, they are unable to produce and compete because the cost of the product becomes too high. Because you are competing with a country like China, where power is being sold at 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And in Ghana, we are paying 10, 12 cents. So you become uncompetitive right from the word book. So you are right, we need to improve some of these. Cost of finance has always been a challenge. Today, because of the stability that the macroeconomic environment that we are enjoying, with policy rates and gradually the interest rates coming down, I think the macro environment continue to stay likely that we will have an improved business environment, bring the cost of production down. We also need to look at our raw material cost. Raw material cost, because we import the bulk of it, and we are not developing the value chain very well, it means that of the raw material is at the mercy of foreign market. So if you're able to develop those that we can conveniently develop here, we end up reducing the cost of the input. And when we reduce the cost of input, we really need to look at the cost, the key drivers of the cost, and we work on them and improve, and then we can be more competitive in the African market.
All right. I'm grateful for your time, Sir Chuma Kwaboi, CEO of Association of Ghanaian Industries.